The galaxy was vast, dark, and quiet, but not for long. A massive alien fleet emerged from the depths of space, moving with precision and confidence. These were the Zirath, a race that had ruled the stars for centuries. Their ships were enormous, black as obsidian, bristling with weapons that could crush entire planets. Their empire believed no species could ever challenge them. Today they were approaching Nova Prime, a small human colony at the edge of the Milky Way. They expected surrender. They expected weakness. What they did not expect was a human warship waiting for them. On the bridge of the Vanguard, the human warship, Captain Alara Kincaid, stood tall. Her dark hair framed a face marked with both determination and worry. She had trained for this moment her entire life, yet nothing could prepare her for the enormity of the task ahead. The Vanguard was small compared to the Zirath fleet, barely more than a speck against their massive dreadnoughts. Yet within that small ship, humanity's courage burned brighter than any star. Alara's crew moved quickly, yet calmly. Each officer knew their role. Each sailor understood the stakes. The hum of the ship's engines vibrated under their feet, almost like the heartbeat of the vessel itself. They were humans, and they had always faced impossible odds. They had survived countless wars, disasters, and alien invasions before, and they would survive this too. A warning signal came from the alien fleet booming across the silent void of space. "Surrender your colony, humans. Resistance will be annihilation." The voice was cold, mechanical, and meant to scare. But on the Vanguard there was no fear. Alara's hand rested lightly on the console, her eyes locked on the massive ships approaching. She whispered to herself, almost like a prayer, "They don't know who they are facing." The humans on the bridge exchanged glances, each filled with the same determination. They were outnumbered 100-1, but they carried something the aliens could never measure. Something no weapon could destroy. Spirit, heart, humanity. Alara straightened, her voice calm but filled with fire as she addressed her crew. "Today they will see who we are. Today they will learn that humans never surrender. Prepare for battle. Engines to full, shields up, weapons ready. And remember, we fight not because we want to destroy, but because we must protect." Her words echoed through the Vanguard, and each crew member felt a surge of courage, a surge of hope. Outside the viewport, the stars seemed to shiver as the alien fleet closed in. Each dreadnought bristled with weapons, each cruiser ready to fire. Yet the humans did not flinch. The Vanguard was smaller but sleek and fast, built for speed, maneuverability, and precision. Its hull reflected the distant sunlight, shimmering like a silver guardian in the cold void. Alara tapped the communications panel. "Open channels," she ordered. A crackling signal came through, the aliens waiting for her response. She allowed herself a small, sharp smile. "This is Captain Alara Kincaid of the human warship Vanguard. We will not surrender. Any attack will be met with full resistance. Consider this your only warning." Silence followed. Then the alien fleet surged forward, confident in their numbers. They expected fear, expected panic, expected surrender. What they did not expect was defiance. The Vanguard held its ground, a lone human ship standing between the aliens and an innocent colony. The stars around them seemed to hold their breath. In that moment, Captain Alara Kincaid felt the weight of every human life. Every family, every soldier, every child depended on her decisions. Her hands tightened on the console, her heart steady, her mind clear. Today was not just a battle, it was a statement. Today the galaxy would see that humans were not weak, that humans were not helpless, that humans, no matter how small, could stand unyielding against the impossible. And far across the void, the Zirath fleet approached, unaware that everything they believed about power, fear, and victory was about to be shattered by a single human warship. The Vanguard glided silently through the darkness of space, a small but shining mark of humanity against the endless black. Every crew member on the bridge was focused, eyes fixed on the approaching alien fleet. The Zirath ships were enormous, countless in number, and their presence made the void feel heavy, oppressive. Yet despite the fearsome size and strength of their enemy, the humans did not tremble. They had a weapon far more powerful than any laser, missile, or shield: courage. Captain Alara Kincaid walked along the bridge, observing her crew as they prepared for the encounter. Her first officer, Commander Darius Vance, checked the weapon systems with meticulous care. The ship's engineers hummed quietly, adjusting energy cores and shields. Even the youngest crew members, barely out of training, moved with steady hands and sharp minds. Every human on board understood that today, they were the shield between the innocent colony of Nova Prime and total annihilation. The Zirath fleet loomed closer, its sensors scanning, attempting to measure the humans' power. The aliens were methodical, precise, and confident. They had destroyed entire species before with little thought. Yet as their scanners swept the vanguard, something unexpected happened. Their instruments flickered. Readings did not match known data. Energy levels were unusual. Weapons were not only advanced, they were unpredictable. The aliens paused, puzzled. They had encountered many civilizations, but never one that moved with such fluid efficiency and precision. Alara stood at the command console, eyes locked on the massive enemy ships. Her voice, calm but firm, cut through the tension on the bridge. Prepare defensive formations. Keep engines at full throttle. Fire only when necessary, and aim for control points on their ships. We do not want civilians harmed. We fight to protect, not to destroy. The Zirath admiral, sitting high in his command dreadnought, laughed. His voice echoed across space, amplified and cold. A single human ship? Pathetic? Prepare to be erased. His arrogance was like a shadow across the vanguard, but it did not touch the crew's resolve. Then the humans acted. With precision and speed, the vanguard fired its first shot. A concentrated beam of energy shot across the void, striking the lead alien ship's engines. There was no hesitation, no fear, only calculated action. The beam tore through shields and armor, disabling the ship instantly. Across the alien fleet, confusion spread like wildfire. No single ship had ever taken down a Zirath dreadnought without an entire squadron. The alien commanders froze, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Their sensors could measure technology, but they could not measure human ingenuity or bravery. Alara's eyes narrowed as she watched the results of the strike. The lead alien ship drifted powerless, a wounded giant in the void. The vanguard weaved smoothly around energy beams and plasma blasts, her small size making her harder to target. The crew followed her every move instinctively, like extensions of one mind. Their combined skill, their trust in each other, and their courage made them a weapon more effective than the most advanced alien technology. The silence after the first strike was deafening. Even the aliens who were used to victory hesitated. For the first time in their history, they saw a species that would not bow, that would not submit, that would fight with every ounce of strength against overwhelming odds. Alara turned to her crew, her voice steady and strong. They will test us, push us, try to break us. Do not falter. We are humans. We survive. We protect. And today we show the galaxy that one human ship can stand against an entire fleet. The Zirath fleet had expected fear. They had expected surrender. They had expected the humans to scatter like frightened prey. Instead, they saw precision, unity, and unshakable determination. And in that moment, the seeds of doubt were planted in the hearts of the aliens. The vanguard shone like a beacon in the darkness, small but unyielding. Its energy shields pulsed, engines hummed with power, and weapons waited, ready to strike again. Humanity had made its first contact in a war it did not choose, and it had already left the galaxy trembling. And far ahead, in the void between stars, the Zirath fleet slowed, confusion and fear starting to ripple through the alien lines. The humans were small, but they had done the impossible. They had shown that courage could outweigh numbers, that determination could overpower fear, and that even a single ship could change the course of history. For the first time in their long, ruthless history, the Zirath fleet hesitated. The lead dreadnought drifted silently, its engines disabled by a single human warship. One by one, the other ships slowed, weapons trembling in their mounts. The alien commanders exchanged confused signals, their confidence cracking. This was not supposed to happen. A single human ship was never meant to stand against them. Yet here it was, moving with precision, dodging their fire, and striking back with intelligence and courage. Captain Alara Kincaid watched the halted fleet through the vanguard's viewport. Her dark eyes reflected the pale light of distant stars and the blinking energy cores of her ship. She felt a heavy weight in her chest, not fear but the gravity of the moment. This was more than a battle. It was a statement. Humanity, small and seemingly fragile, was standing firm against an empire that had ruled countless worlds. Every human life, every struggle, every story of survival and courage was represented in this single ship. Alara leaned on the command console, whispering to herself, "We are small, but we are unyielding." They will learn that today. Her crew worked quietly but with purpose. Understanding the tension that hung over them like a fragile crystal. They had all trained for battles, drills, simulations, but nothing could prepare them for the weight of staring into the unknown, knowing that the future of their entire colony, and perhaps the galaxy, rested on their shoulders. The Zirath fleet froze completely, a moment of disbelief stretching into eternity. Sensors could measure shields, weapons, and armor, but they could not measure courage, ingenuity, or the human will to protect. For centuries, no species had defied them so calmly, so precisely, and so effectively. They began to understand a terrifying truth. Humans did not fight like anyone else. They did not rely solely on weapons or numbers. They fought with heart, with instinct, and with unity that technology could not replicate. A junior officer on the Vanguard, barely 20 years old, whispered, "Captain, they're frozen. They're not moving." Alara gave a small, grim smile. "Good," she said softly. "Let them see us. Let them understand. Fear is the first weapon we strike with." She knew the human's resolve was infectious. If one soldier could inspire courage in another, then a warship full of humans could inspire doubt in the enemy. And that doubt could be as deadly as any missile. Time seemed to stretch in the void. The alien commander sent frantic messages demanding answers. Their fleet, once confident, now wavered like a candle in the wind. Some ships began to drift sideways, unsure whether to continue or retreat. It was as if the Vanguard carried not only humans but the weight of every species the Zirath had underestimated. Alara turned to her crew, her voice calm, strong, and filled with quiet authority. "Do not underestimate the moment," she said. "This pause is ours to shape. One human ship can strike fear, but one human heart can inspire legends. Remember who you fight for. Remember why we are here. Every life on Nova Prime depends on us." Her words echoed through the bridge like a beacon. The crew straightened, a renewed determination blazing in their eyes. They were not just soldiers. They were humanity's shield. They were the spark that could ignite courage in every human heart, across every world. Far across the void, the Zirath fleet began to tremble in more ways than one. The lead dreadnought, still disabled, was a warning. Each human maneuver, each precise shot, showed the aliens that technology alone could not win a war against a species that refused to surrender. And in that freezing moment, the aliens felt something they had never felt before. Fear, not fear of weapons or death or loss. Fear of humans themselves, fear of their spirit, fear of a species that could stand alone, outnumbered, and still refuse to bow. In the silence of space, the Vanguard glided forward, small but unshakable, carrying humanity's pride and hope. And as the alien fleet froze, the first seeds of a lesson began to take root in their minds. Never underestimate a human. The frozen Zirath fleet was no longer merely an enemy. It was a challenge, a mountain of metal and fire that dared humanity to defy it. Captain Alara Kincaid took a deep breath and whispered, "Now we show them why humans fight." The Vanguard surged forward, small but fierce, weaving through the cold darkness of space like a silver flame. Each movement was precise, each action carefully planned, yet unpredictable enough to keep the massive alien fleet off balance. On the bridge, the crew moved with fluid coordination. Commander Darius Vance barked orders, and engineers adjusted energy cores with quiet efficiency. Even the youngest crew members felt the weight of their task, but fear had no place here. Only determination, only focus, only humanity's unwavering will to protect their home. The aliens fired back, unleashing volleys of plasma and energy beams meant to crush the tiny ship. Yet the Vanguard dodged, twisting and turning in ways the alien engineers had not predicted. Each strike that missed sent waves of shock through the Zirath fleet. Their confidence faltered. The dreadnoughts, once symbols of invincibility, struggled to recalibrate against a foe that moved with fluid human unpredictability. Captain Alara watched the enemy's reactions carefully. Every ship she disabled was chosen with intention, targeting engines and weapon systems rather than causing unnecessary destruction. She wanted the aliens to understand a truth humans carried deep within their hearts. They fought not to conquer, not to destroy, but to protect life. Each strike was a message loud and clear. We do not surrender, and we fight for more than ourselves. In the chaos of battle, small moments of humanity shone through. Lieutenant Mara Finn adjusted a shield generator just in time to save a critical section of the ship. Ensign Rico Jamal fired with unerring precision, taking down a heavily armed alien drone. Every crew member played their part, but more importantly, every crew member believed in the mission. This unity, this trust made the Vanguard far more than a warship. It made it a symbol. The alien commanders grew desperate. How could a single ship, so small and seemingly fragile, cripple their armada with such efficiency? Their sensors were accurate, their weapons powerful, yet none of it seemed to matter. Humans fought with heart, with instinct, and with a daring that no computer could calculate. The Zereth realized something terrifying. They were not just facing a warship. They were facing the spirit of an entire species. Hilara's voice cut through the tension on the bridge, calm yet commanding. Steady. Focus on the engines. Disable them. Show them what it means to underestimate humans. Her words carried weight, not because they were orders, but because they carried belief. Every human on the Vanguard felt it. They were not alone. They were humanity itself, alive and unyielding. As the Vanguard darted among the enemy ships, the tide of battle subtly shifted. Alien weapons misfired, formations broke apart, and dreadnoughts slowed, unsure how to respond. The humans were small, but every strike was meaningful, every maneuver a calculated defiance. The fleet that had once believed victory was guaranteed now wavered. The Vanguard was proving that courage, precision, and unity could outweigh sheer numbers. Outside the ship, the stars seemed to shimmer, reflecting the pulse of energy shields and weapon fire. Space itself felt alive with the struggle of life against overwhelming odds. Every human on board knew that the battle was more than survival. It was a statement to the galaxy. One small species could stand against giants. One small warship could inspire fear in an entire empire. And amidst the chaos, Ilara allowed herself a moment to look at her crew. Exhaustion, fear, courage, and hope all mingled in their eyes. She whispered, not for orders, not for strategy, but for herself and for them. This is who we are. Small, yes. Outnumbered, yes. But unbroken. And unyielding. Always unyielding. In the heart of battle, the Vanguard moved with grace, determination, and purpose. The humans were not just surviving, they were defining themselves. They were proving to the galaxy that even a single human ship, guided by will and heart, could stand against an empire, and that the soul of humanity was far stronger than any weapon in the stars. The Zerath Admiral's patience had run out. His massive fleet, once a symbol of unstoppable power, now quivered in space as a single human warship moved among them with deadly precision. He shouted orders, demanding full-strength assault on the Vanguard, convinced that sheer force would finally crush the human resistance. Every dreadnought, cruiser, and drone focused its fire on the small ship. The stars seemed to darken as plasma beams and energy missiles rained down in an unrelenting storm. On the Vanguard, the crew braced. Shields glowed bright blue, humming with energy as they absorbed blow after blow. Captain Ilara Kincaid stood firm at the command console, her eyes steady, her mind sharp. She knew the humans were outnumbered, but she also knew that fear was a weapon the Zyreth could not wield against them. Steady, she said, her voice calm, echoing through the bridge. Focus on the cores. Precision over power. Every strike counts. The Vanguard darted through the storm of fire, weaving and twisting like a living creature. The ship's engines purred with energy, perfectly balanced between speed and control. Crew members moved like one organism, each anticipating the other's actions, executing maneuvers with uncanny synchronicity. Every alien blast that missed was a small victory, a demonstration of human ingenuity and courage. The humans struck back with brilliance. Targeted energy pulses disabled the engines of the lead dreadnought, causing it to drift helplessly. From there, other alien ships began to falter. Missiles detonated prematurely, shields overloaded, and communications faltered. The Zerath fleet, once confident, now staggered under the relentless precision of a species they had deemed insignificant. Captain Ilara's voice rang clear and resolute. Do not panic. Every shot we take is a message. We are humans. We protect, we endure, and we will not fall. Keep your focus. Keep your courage. This is the turning point, and then it happened. The lead dreadnought exploded in a blinding flash, sending a shockwave that rippled through the fleet. Several nearby ships were disabled, engines failing, weapons offline. Alien crews panicked, unsure how a single human vessel could wreak such havoc. For the first time, the Zirath felt fear, not of death, but of the human spirit itself. They realized they were facing more than weapons. They were facing ingenuity, bravery, and unyielding determination. Alara allowed herself a brief, sharp smile. The vanguard was small, but it had become the heart of the battle. Every maneuver was purposeful, every shot a testament to human skill and courage. The aliens' arrogance had crumbled, replaced by uncertainty. The tide was turning, not through overwhelming numbers, but through focus, bravery, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Her crew felt it too. The fear that had crept in during the opening moments of battle had vanished, replaced by confidence. They were outnumbered, yes, but they were not outmatched. Every human on the vanguard knew that this moment would be remembered, not for the ships destroyed, but for the courage displayed, for the lesson taught to an empire that had underestimated them. The Zirath fleet began to scatter, unsure how to regroup, unsure if they could continue. They had faced technology, firepower, and strategy, but they had not faced a species that refused to yield. Humanity's spirit had become the weapon they could not understand, the force they could not predict. Ilara's voice, calm yet full of strength, resonated through the ship. Hold steady. Push them back. Let them know that humans fight for each other, for home, for life itself. We are unyielding, and we will endure. As the alien fleet faltered and the shockwaves of destruction spread through their lines, one truth became clear. Courage could outweigh numbers. Determination could overpower fear. And even a single human warship could change the course of a battle against an empire. In the vast emptiness of space, the vanguard moved forward, blazing with light and purpose. Humanity had turned the tide. And the galaxy, watching silently from afar, would never forget the day a single human warship became a symbol of hope, courage, and unbreakable will. The battle had slowed, though space still crackled with the remnants of energy blasts and burning debris. The Zirath fleet, once confident and arrogant, now moved with hesitation. Their formations were broken, their dreadnoughts damaged, and their commanders uncertain. For the first time in centuries, they were forced to confront a truth they had never considered. Humans were not a species to underestimate. Captain Alara Kincaid stood on the bridge of the vanguard, her hands resting lightly on the console. Her eyes swept across the viewport where fragments of alien ships drifted silently in the void. The victory was not yet complete, but the turning point had come. Her crew was exhausted, yet their faces shone with quiet pride. Every burnished hand, every steady eye, every silent nod spoke of courage that could not be measured by numbers or weapons. Ilara turned to her first officer, Commander Darius Vance, whose calm presence had steadied the crew through the chaos. "They see us now," she said softly, "not as enemies, not as prey, but as something they cannot understand. Humans fight differently. Humans fight for more than themselves. We fight for life, for hope, for each other." The crew understood. They had fought for Nova Prime, for the families below, for every human who had ever been told they were too small, too weak, too insignificant to matter. They had shown the galaxy that courage was stronger than fear, that determination was sharper than any weapon, and that unity could overcome even the largest fleet. Far across the void, the Zirath commanders gathered, their communications sparse and confused. They had faced countless civilizations, yet none had moved with such combination of precision, instinct, and heart. Sensors could not measure spirit. Lasers could not strike courage. And for the first time they hesitated not because of strategy, but because of awe and fear. Ilara spoke quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "This is who we are. Small, yes. Outnumbered, yes. But unbroken. And unyielding. Always unyielding." Her voice carried a weight that the crew felt deep in their bones. They had survived disasters, wars, and impossible odds before. But this moment crystallized something greater. They were humanity. And humanity endured. Below on Nova Prime, civilians looked to the skies, watching flashes of light and energy streak across the blackness. Fear had gripped them, but hope now began to bloom. They did not see the vanguard as merely a ship. They saw it as a guardian, a protector, a symbol of something larger than themselves. Humanity was small in the vast galaxy, but it was unyielding, unshakable, and proud. In the silence between battles, a young officer, barely more than a boy, whispered, "Captain, they're pulling back." Alara's gaze followed the retreating lines of the Zirath fleet. "Good," she said, voice steady. "Let them remember this day. Let them remember that humans fight differently. Let them remember that courage is not something they can destroy." The vanguard moved forward slowly, escorting the retreating aliens away from Nova Prime. No shots were fired unnecessarily. Every strike, every maneuver had been calculated to protect, not to annihilate. Humanity's power lay not in the destruction they could cause, but in the courage and restraint they displayed in the face of overwhelming odds. Alara turned to her crew, her voice soft but resolute. "We have shown them something they cannot forget. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy will test us again. Others will come. But remember this, no matter how many, no matter how powerful we endure, humanity fights with heart, and heart is stronger than any weapon." And in that quiet, shining moment, the Zirath fleet recognized a truth that would haunt them forever. Humans were not just survivors. They were warriors, protectors, and legends in their own right. They fought not for conquest, not for pride, but for life itself. And that made them unstoppable. In the darkness of space, the vanguard glowed like a beacon. Humanity's message was clear. Courage, unity, and love for one another could stand against the greatest of empires. And the galaxy would never forget it. The alien fleet continued to scatter across the void, engines sputtering and weapons offline. The Zirath, once a name whispered in fear across countless systems, were forced to retreat before a single human warship. The vanguard glided through the aftermath of battle, battered but unbroken, its hull glowing softly with the resilience of humanity itself. Captain Alara Kincaid stood at the command console, her dark eyes reflecting the scattered lights of the retreating enemy. She felt the weight of every life saved, every heart inspired, and every story that would now carry the legend of this day. Her crew worked quietly, checking systems, tending to minor damages, and ensuring the ship remained operational. There was no celebration, only quiet pride. Every human on board understood that this victory was not about destruction. It was about courage, unity, and the protection of life. Nova Prime below was safe, at least for now, and that was the most important thing. Alara turned to her first officer, Commander Darius Vance. "We have done something they will never forget," she said softly. "One human ship standing against an empire unyielding, unbroken. They will speak of this for generations." Darius nodded, his face reflecting exhaustion and awe. "They will. They will remember humanity." Across the galaxy, whispers of the battle spread. Systems far from Nova Prime began to recount the story. A small, seemingly fragile human warship had faced an entire alien fleet, and not only survived, but had forced retreat. Across star systems, fear of humans began to grow, not because they were cruel or ruthless, but because they could not be predicted, could not be broken, and would always fight for life, for each other. Alara allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She thought of the humans who had come before. Soldiers, explorers, engineers, and families who had faced hardships countless times and endured. She thought of the children of Nova Prime, looking up at the sky and seeing flashes of light, not knowing the scale of the battle but feeling the courage it represented. And she realized something that no enemy could ever take away. Humanity's spirit was eternal, and it would always shine brightest in the darkest of times. The vanguard moved slowly toward Nova Prime, its crew tired but alert. The colony below began to cheer as they saw their protector returning. The humans had not only survived, they had become a symbol, a beacon of hope in a galaxy that often seemed cold and indifferent. Mothers hugged their children, soldiers saluted silently, and elders whispered prayers of thanks. Humanity had proven something today that no empire could deny. The strength of a species lies not in its numbers, but in its heart. Captain Alara looked out at the stars, the vast emptiness of space now feeling like a canvas of possibility. She spoke softly, almost to herself. "We may be small, we may be outnumbered, but we endure. We protect, we rise, and we will never bow to fear." Her voice carried across the bridge, but it was more than words, it was a promise. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once alien fleets had moved with certainty, now hesitation and caution spread. They had learned in the hardest way possible that humans were not a species to be underestimated. One warship had frozen an armada. One species had shown that courage, heart, and unity could topple arrogance. And one day the stories of this battle would inspire countless others to stand, no matter the odds, no matter the enemy. As the Vanguard entered the orbit of Nova Prime, its lights reflecting off the planet's surface, Captain Ilara allowed herself a small smile. The battle was over, but the legacy had just begun. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through fear, not through conquest, but through courage, resilience, and an unyielding spirit. And in the quiet hum of the ship with the galaxy watching silently, the words that would echo through history seemed to hang in the void. No matter how small, we are unyielding. No matter how many we endure, we are humanity. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer in response,